My dad left me his house with one rule: I was never allowed to open the basement. When my father died, he left me his entire house, but his will came with one terrifying condition. I wasn't allowed to open the basement door until my mother was dead. I thought it was some strange joke until the lawyer finished reading the will and my mother suddenly started crying. She looked at me and whispered, "Your father should never have done this." My dad had always been secretive about his past. Whenever I asked about the locked basement, he would simply say, "There's nothing down there you need to know about." After his funeral, my mother begged me to sell the house and move on, but I couldn't stop thinking about that door. A week later, I found an envelope hidden inside my father's desk with my name written on it. Inside was a photograph of a little boy I'd never seen before. On the back, Dad had written, "If you're reading this, you finally found the truth." I immediately called my mother, but she refused to answer. I drove to her house and found her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at an old photograph. She finally admitted that before I was born, my father had another son. He was 6 years old when everyone was told he had died in an accident, but that wasn't true. He had survived. My father had spent decades secretly searching for him. Then Mom handed me another photograph. I stared at it and felt my stomach drop. The boy looked almost exactly like me. Same eyes, same smile, even the same birthmark near his left ear. I asked where he was now. My mother looked at me and said, "He's been closer than you think." Suddenly, I remembered my father's old neighbor. He had lived across the street for as long as I could remember. He was quiet, but he always seemed strangely interested in my life. I searched Dad's files and found dozens of letters addressed to him. Then I found one final letter. It said, "I couldn't bring him home without destroying our family, so I made sure he was always close enough to watch over his brother." I confronted my mother, and she finally told me the truth. The man across the street was my brother. He had never died. My father had found him years ago, but my brother blamed my mother for giving him up and refused to come home. Dad secretly kept him close instead. But one question still bothered me. Why had Dad forbidden me from opening the basement? I couldn't resist anymore. I found the key inside his desk and unlocked the door. I expected money, documents, maybe some terrible family secret. Instead, the walls were covered with hundreds of photographs. My first day of school, my first baseball game, my graduation, my wedding. Moments I thought only my family had witnessed. And in almost every picture, I saw the same man somewhere in the background. My brother. He had been watching over me my entire life. At the bottom of an old box, I found one final letter from Dad. It said, "I couldn't give you your brother back, so I gave you something better. I made sure you never grew up without him." I sat on that basement floor crying, realizing my father hadn't abandoned my brother. He had secretly protected both of us in the only way he knew how. Then I heard a knock at the front door. When I opened it, the man from all those photographs was standing there. He looked at me for a long moment, then said, "I'm sorry Dad had to die before I could finally tell you myself. I'm your brother."